Oh my goodness. First of all, I'm kind of in a little bit of shock on how quickly you went through soul to soul. I feel like it's getting faster and faster. I'm like, are we really doing your testimonial right now? 2 seconds ago that we were on our breakthrough call. So listen, I just was having a moment, but this is beautiful, Caroline. And Caroline, could you just introduce yourself to us, where you're from, how old you are, all that good stuff?
Yes. So I am from Georgia. I am 26. I've been up and down the East Coast all my life. So I've never been settled in one place for more than just a couple of years. So I am happy to say this is now my home base.
Beautiful. That's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
And what do you do? What are you doing right now for work?
I am in finance. Which is ironic because I got my degree in psychology, but now I'm in investment banking. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So I want to just take you back to where you were from, is wishing that this was around. Yeah, I wish this was around when I was 26, we work with women of, of all ages, but, it really excites me when I see someone getting this work before you even hit 30. We work with 40-year-olds as well, of course, but it's so fantastic, Caroline, that at 26 you were like, you know what, something needs to change. I'm ready to get out of my own way. Like, I really want to commend you for that, because you could have easily just left it and said, oh, well, maybe when I'm 30, then I can do something, but you didn't. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. Truly, my inner 26-year-old was like, oh, I wish I had this. And then secondly, I want to just take you back to truly where you were. I know it's uncomfortable because you've just come so far into a different stratosphere, but if we just go back, if you close your eyes and put your hands on your heart and just feel into where you were when you booked this call, where were you? What wasn't working? What was your biggest fear? Just talk to us from that place.
Sure. I was coming from a place of complete avoidance of myself. I had completely roadblocked myself experiencing my own heart, my own being, my own power. And it was there on the edge of like, I know, I'm aware that it's there, that I am here, that there's so much potential, and that there's this huge void. And I was completely overwhelmed where to start and how to tackle, the barriers that I really placed in front of myself, or fears that came up or insecurities that came up, and things that I wasn't even aware of, that through the program I got clarity on, which was huge, because there's so many questions of why was this happen, or why did I feel this, or why do I have this fear, and all these things. And I just gained so much understanding of myself, so going back, I was in a place of on and off depression for years after having graduated college, and I distracted myself with books, with family, with food, and I just stayed surface level.
Yeah.
With myself. Yeah.
Yeah. And when it came to relationships, I remember, but I'm just wanting you to obviously share with these beautiful women, what was your internal sort of monologue about relationships and about it actually happening for you?
So it's crazy when I think back. I thought it was something normal, and it was something okay, and it was something positive. And now I'm very aware that it was completely different energy being and intention being put forth when I had my thoughts of meeting someone and being in a relationship and dating. And that was just, well, I have some issues and holdups, and he's just going to have to break through them. And I'm just going to hope that he enters my life and fixes this or accepts this of me, and proves me wrong, and it was this whole there was victimhood in it, but there was also this like, well, then you like, I hope I put it on him in the relationship to just do the work of like, you prove me wrong and I hope that you're right, you know, like, and not thinking of it in a way of joy and excitement and me being my full self and breaking through my own barriers. And, you know, so it was that.
It was a little girl wanting to be rescued, basically.
Mm-hmm. Entirely.
It was basically almost like, you know, all right, well, I'll give you a chance, but I really deep down, Caroline, you didn't believe that you could really have it the way that you wanted it. You to remind you as well, you were plugged into a lot of disappointment around relationships. And so when we are plugged into, when we've been let down, when we have disappointment, then why would we want to invite in someone else that can hurt us? Why would we really truly want to attract in a relationship if what we're really vibrating with is disappointment? That's where you were living from. So you weren't available for the kind of love that you know you can have now. Like you weren't in resonance with that because you weren't connected to yourself. And all of so much of the feedback we have with our breakthrough calls is women saying, you know, I just can't connect. I don't have the connection with these guys. I don't have a connection beyond the first date. Like they just don't see me. They just don't get me. Like it's just not connected. I'm like, yeah, because you're not connected to you.
100%.
So that I remember very clearly from our call was like, I'm looking at all this potential at this amazing woman and so many women that we speak to, but it was like you were sort of locked in a jail cell away from the true Caroline, which was up in the penthouse.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So of course you're going to either not attract in anything from down there in the doldrums, or you're going to attract in very, very average relationships, you know, that's not congruent with your amazing self. And so that's where we can all get into the loop of, well, I've tried, but what's the point? Because I attract in relationships that aren't really what I want anyway. And that's the loop that we can all get stuck on. I know I've certainly been stuck on that as well. And then it's on top of that when people tell you, oh, but you're such a catch and it's just going to happen and da-da-da. No, it's not going to just happen, like you said, from hoping that some guy is just going to, I did too. I was hoping for someone to come and rescue me. You know, I had the vision board and I was like, well, I know what I want and he's awesome. And never was I really looking at how I was rolling for myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's kind of the blind spot that I'm glad we're sort of spotlighting on this call today. Every testimonial brings in something different, but I'm really excited for those of you listening to really see something for yourself inside of Caroline's story, because, you know, Caroline's the sort of person, you love her at hello. She's got such great energy. She's beautiful. Who wouldn't want to date her, right? But all of the looks and the amazing personality and whatever's on your CV is all irrelevant if you're not madly, deeply head over heels in love with the woman that you are. So let's continue on from what it was really like for you on and off depression, not being the version of you that you truly know that you are now. Like, what was the worst part about being in that place, Caroline? What was the suffering that was happening deep down?
I get like choked up just thinking about it. There's just a lot of pain in not truly experiencing life in its full intention and purpose as like a soul, you know. And I really just went through the motions of life and I skated through, and I would be, there were times where I was even conscious of it and being like, I'm going through the motions. I'm not happy. I'm going through the motions. And it was just like that, even that awareness on top of it was gut wrenching, because it was this cycle of, well, now that I'm even more, you know, unhappy with that. And then it's like that cycle of disappointment and self and all of that. And then it's like, well, how do I get out of this? And then it's like, okay, well, maybe tomorrow, you know, and it's like, well, how can I distract myself right now from this?
That's right.
And yeah, It's crazy too. I mean, there are different types, obviously, of many different facets of depression. And if you were to ask like anybody who knows me outside of my family, any of my friends, they would not know the depths of those feelings.
Yes.
And
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
yeah,
It's really,
exactly.
really
Because and on the day to day, it was like I still smiled, I still showed up in a happy, good mood, but it was happy, right? Happy, good mood. It was not genuine happiness, and it was not genuinely authentic in who I am. So
yeah. And I remember you saying as well, like you were the person sort of helping other people and giving them advice, yet certainly not being that for yourself. And we can all relate to that. When we're so in denial of how unhappy we are. I know I got to that place myself. I did not know how bad it was until I had I had a real wake-up call, but I really had myself so full because I was hiding behind optimism and positivity and it's just going to happen. And that's the pandemic right now. It's going to, work itself out. And then suddenly 5 years have gone by and you're like, hello, universe, have you forgotten about me? But the universe hasn't forgotten about you. The universe is waiting for you to step the fuck up. That's what it's waiting for us to do.
Yes.
The universe will give us what we desire on a platter, but we have to be in alignment. We have to be facing ourselves. We have to be doing the work to clear our path. And then the universe will bring you everything and more. It's not the universe. I know people get angry at God, people get angry at the universe. What's wrong with me? And that's the victimhood you were talking about earlier. That I've been in, you've been in, all my clients have been in, like, let's just call a spade a spade. We all know what that is. None of us like the title victimhood, but we all know what it is. So really thank you for sharing your truth around depression, because it does come in all shapes and forms. And often, and it gives me chills, with so many of the women I've worked with, but they were disguising it really, really well. And, they're the cases you hear of where someone in society was such a great person and suddenly she goes and takes her life. No one knew. No. That is not okay. Like, there is a solution. We don't have to be depressed. There is support. And the reason why I believe that we do get depressed is when we turn on ourselves, when we are angry with ourselves, we resent ourselves, we're tough on ourselves, we're totally going like this, instead of like, I love you and I've got you and I accept you. We're going like, you're not good enough. You got to try harder. Da, 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 da. And so we reject ourselves and we abandon ourselves. And then in turn, we feel abandoned. And this comes as well from, like, this is a deeper conversation where we have actually felt abandoned as a little girl by our mum or our dad. Even if they were good parents, we can still feel that abandonment where we didn't get the kind of emotional support we needed. And I really want to qualify that, because so often people are like, well, I had a great childhood and my parents loved me. I'm like, I had a great childhood too. And I lost my father. And, I had a mother with a very strong voice. Like, people automatically think, oh, all the issues were with my dad. But there were just as many things I needed to work through with my beautiful mum, who I love more than anything. But that doesn't mean that I was getting supported in the way that I needed. And that's a really, really big point that I want to make as a distinction, because we're not here to throw our parents under the bus. We're not here to do that. But it's really black and white. Did you get the support that you needed as a little girl? Did you feel seen? Did you feel emotionally nourished? And for most of us, the answer is no. And our parents are doing the best that they can, 100%. And I like to think that all parents love us. But when we can actually become the observer and go, you know what, I don't feel that I was actually supported the way I needed. Okay. And then this is where the work comes in, where we get to be that support system for ourselves. We get to learn how to accept ourselves, how to love ourselves, how to be our own biggest cheerleader. And that's what I saw kick in and activate with you. So it's just picturing you feeling very isolated when you came to us. And then now with you just like really plugging into who Caroline really is, you've gone supersonic on like, I'm having a soulmate relationship. I'm amazing. And, it's not just words. So like, let's just go to where you are now.
Yes.
How you really feel, knowing when you came in, You were, the one word I remember we did use on the call was numb. You felt numb, you felt disconnected. Yeah.
Yes.
Really, really like presenting like this image, and then internally it was just like completely not home.
Exactly. And that was the whole, that was the key statement for me going in, was I wanted to come home to myself.
Yeah.
Because I felt I had, like, going back to the term abandonment, I felt I had abandoned myself.
Yes.
And it had been years, since graduating college. So going on 3-4 years. And I did everything to try to externally to change it, to fix it. I moved closer to family. I moved closer to friends. I changed jobs. I worked out more. I did this, I did that. And none of it stuck, because none of it was, everything was external, so it was
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you're hitting on all these really important points. I knew this was going to be juicy, but it's like, beyond. And this is so many women that we speak to that'll say, I'm getting laser, or I'm getting a boob job, or I'm getting my teeth more white, or I'm getting them straightened, or I'm getting this, or I'm getting that. And while that gives you a little quick hit of confidence, I'm not saying you can't do those things. They do not shift anything to do with the way you feel about yourself, your belief systems about love, and the way that you see the world, and the way that you speak to yourself. And that is why there's another whole pandemic of people that have got the biggest lips and the biggest, everything's been done. And yet internally, like, they're completely desperately unhappy. And so again, this is not about whether you want to get a boob job or whatever. Like, we have no judgment around that, like, knock yourself out. But that is the external, and it's about healing from within. And then when you do heal from within, do you really need to go and get all that stuff done? And the answer most likely is like, no, I'm enough as I am. Right. You cannot make up with anything external. You cannot overcompensate for how you could get to feel internally. And so, yes, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's what people think, it's just the weight, or it's just this, or it's just that, or I've got to move out for my parents. But it's not that. That's a Band-Aid. And while you need to take action in some of the areas, like, maybe you need to go to the gym, maybe you need to eat more nourishing foods, that's all good. But that's not the solution. It is only surface, and it'll only bring you surface results. And that's where people get really upset, because they're like, well, I'm doing all these things, not doing the right thing. You're not doing the thing that matters.
Right.
And that's connecting to yourself.
Exactly. And one last thing that just came to my mind too was something I did try numerous times. Was I even sought out, other therapeutic techniques that I just wanted a quick fix, or that person to fix me, where I would go to like a reading, or I'd go to, like whatever it was, whether it was like a psychic reading or a traditional like psychologist, I'd be like, okay, diagnose me, fix me, and there were insights at those sessions, sure. But those insights did not do the work that I did with myself in Soul to Soul at all.
My language, I was exactly the same as you, going to everyone else, outsourcing, and it was quick fixes and Band-Aids.
Yep. So
how is this different? How is this different?
Yeah.
You did the work.
I feel like I've taken such a deep breath of air from like my toes all the way up, and it's like I haven't breathed that freshness in years. It's like gets me choked up, because it's like, oh my gosh, I feel this liberation within me of, wow, I freed myself of so much self-judgment and so much, suppression that I've really buried under and turned my back to. And I just, even today, I woke up thinking, wow, I feel excited for my future. I feel light and brightness in my future, and in today and tomorrow. And like, I don't feel this heaviness or this questionability of, oh, what will it be? It's like, no, I'm excited. And that's a big difference for me. And And it's not just it's temporary, because it's not like I'm excited for a certain event that's coming up. It's just in general, you know. So
but that's everything, Caroline. That's you being excited before the manifestation of the soulmate. That's you being excited in advance. That's you living in a completely joyful frequency instead of dragging your feet. Is this ever going to happen? And living in a very repelling frequency. And we don't realize how repelling it is when we're down, and we don't want to be down. None of us want to be down, but it becomes this vicious cycle where we're actually pushing away the life that we want, because we're like buying into our own, like, you know, oh, it's not fair, or it's not happened yet. And we're focusing on what hasn't happened yet, instead of actually remembering that we are the fucking creators of our life, and we get to create the script, and we get to create the story to live into. And then we've got to match it with the right beliefs and the right mindset and the right words. And that's what getting the right support helps you to do, beautiful ones listening, is to get you out of your rut, to get you out of that consciousness that's limiting you every single day. Not just you, it's limiting your children as well, for those of you that have children. It's limiting your bank account. It's holding you back from your purpose. And Caroline, now in this energy, I know I don't have to even ask her, but she will be inspiring even strangers walking down the street, just seeing her in her light, in her radiance. People will be touched by that. The way that you're having conversations with people, the way that they can now feel you and connect with you. That's a whole different life. That's called living.
Yes, exactly. And my family has noticed, friends have noticed. And it feels so great. They're like, oh, what have you been doing recently? And I'm like, oh, just spending time with myself. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, in what way? I'm like, in every way.
So great.
It's awesome.
So you have had family notice as well?
Oh, definitely. Even early on throughout the stages, and I work with family, so they see me on a daily, and I wasn't, because they see me so often.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting them to notice changes that quickly, and that, like, even the little, and every week they would just say, oh, you walk differently today. There's like a different, energy with you. Or I've noticed how you're presenting yourself at work is completely different and up leveled, so all of these, my productivity, so many different things have definitely been impacted.
Fantastic. Love it. And I know that had to be the case, because you are just showing up in, again, that real joy that is palpable. We can't fake joy. We can't fake self-worth. You just can't. People can see straight through it. We're all animals, we're all energy. We can feel each other, and we can also notice when someone's saying the words and not connected. We all are all very tapped in and tuned in. And so what would you say the biggest celebration is for you, having gone through this really steep process?
I showed up. I was held accountable, and I showed up, and I committed. And that is something that I found so challenging in the past 4 years, when I would say, okay, I'm going to do this. Then I always would push it off tomorrow. Well, 4 years later, it's like, okay, and so when I signed up for Soul to Soul, I committed, and I said, okay, I'm going to show up every single day. And even if I'm tired, even if it's like 1 hour here and more time or less time the next day, but every day I'm going to show up. And that is my biggest celebration, because that's just me being completely committed to myself, and to getting to know myself, and the intention and purpose behind me, joining Soul to Soul. So that is big.
Because from that commitment is self-respect, beautiful boundaries. Are you saying to yourself, you matter, I'm going to show up for you? And when you up level and show up for yourself like that, then the universe reflects that back to you, with everyone else showing up for you and opportunities coming to you, and just everything. Because honestly, everything is a mirror. So when we're like really feeling sorry for ourselves, and we're in that really, really low frequency, where it's borderline depression, but just unmotivated, feeling stuck, feeling unworthy, just feeling like in a holding pattern. Like so many people, you know, that come to us are in that space of hopelessness and like, I really don't believe, Lucy, that this will ever happen for me. And in that space, you're absolutely right. It's not going to. But when you make, and that's why we're invite only. That's why we only work with women that have an attitude of, I'm ready to solve this. It's not like maybe I want to solve it or I'm thinking about solving it. No, this has to change now. And that is why we have such outstanding results, is we are very selective because we know who we can help. We know who's ready and we know who's not. And that's why I say to each of you that are watching this, that are really feeling Caroline's story, you know, book a call with us and let's see if we can help you, because if we don't feel that you're ready, we will not invite you in. Trust me. Caroline knows that everyone that came into the vortex, you know, lots of different types of women, but everyone shows up. And if you don't, then you can't stay in the vortex. It's really as simple as that. Everyone is there to play full out like it's life or death. Otherwise, no, you won't change your life. And I want to be really transparent about that. We're not there to carry you. We're not there to enable you. We're not there to do the work to you. You know, like that's what Caroline was looking for.
Yeah.
We see the power in you. We see the greatness in you. That's what we look for, is your greatness, so we can pull that forth. And then that's what coming home to you really looks like. And then when you're so in love with yourself and so happy to be you, the world looks different. Right?
It does, entirely. And that, yes, everything you just said resonates so well and so perfectly, because that's exactly where I was for years. I was not showing up for myself. And then the past few months, I was getting so fed up with myself, and to that point of, I am ready.
Yeah.
Show me how, you know, universe,
yes.
show me how, and I will do it. And I've been praying about it, all these things. And then you entered my life and it clicked. And I was like, this is the how. And
you were ready. You called it in. And I think I remember you sharing with me, Caroline, like you had seen a psychologist and you were like, I can avoid the things that I know I really need to deal with. And I'm just going to keep showing up, but I also can avoid and not go there if I don't want to. And this is the common feedback we hear from everyone that works with a therapist or a psychologist is, I keep showing up, I keep going through the motions, but I'm avoiding the thing that I know I need to deal with, and they're not holding my feet to the fire.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
So what's the point? What's the point of that? You know, so I just wanted to share that because that's such a common story. Excuse the towel in the background. I love it. I didn't take that down. But you know, we're not here to be perfect. Is crying, so I will jump off now. But what is it that you would love to share from your heart to other amazing women in this community that are really like, oh, maybe I could really step into who I'm meant to be, and maybe it's my time to also really pull out the big guns?
Yeah, I would say take the leap of faith. Just take it. I even have goosebumps right now thinking about it. It is a decision for your life, for your future, for your own experience of your everyday. And it is such a huge, significant decision that will impact every day come afterwards. And it's worth it. Just take the leap of faith. Have faith in yourself. You know, that was something huge for me. I didn't have faith in myself, but I said, I'm going to take the leap. And then, you know, I leaped.
That's so true. But this is the thing of, you know, not having faith in ourselves to go, well, can I just say I do this program and it doesn't work for me? Like, I don't, you know, maybe I'm not fixable, or maybe, you know, and that's the biggest fear. And it's like, no, this is a proven process. We've got you. And if we invite you in, it's because we absolutely know that we can help you and we know how to get you there. But it's a co-creation. So you've got to be ready to show up. And that's what I love about Caroline's share is she said, I was ready. I showed up. And if you do that, you can't help but change your life. Like there is no way you will not change your life, like bottom line. Exactly. And the soulmate, he's the cherry on top, you know, he's like,
yes.
But he's not the focus. You're the focus, because until it's about you, it's never going to be about you. And that's what this process is. So how do you feel about your soulmate coming in now?
I feel so excited. I actually last night and this morning, I said goodnight to him. I just put it forth. I was like, wherever you are, good night. I love you. Sleep well. And it's just, these thoughts will just come to my mind now naturally. And I love it. I'm in full force, just embracing him coming soon. So yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us, seeing your face like just beaming and lit up. And I know you're not stopping here. I know you're going on to continue the work with us, which is really exciting. It's, this is just the beginning. So to see where you're going to be a year from now, like, sky's the limit is all I can say. So thank you so much, Caroline. And can people reach out to you if they want to ask you a few questions?
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right. Big love.